Hi, everybody. My name is Paige Taylor, and I'm a 2018 Iowa State Construction Engineering grad. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about the different internships I had through school, what kind of persuaded me to pick the mechanical emphasis, and then my career so far in the real world. So I'm actually working from the job site right now. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, working on a new student housing project for Tennessee State University. I just relocated this July to this area. And one thing I've kind of learned the hard way, or didn't realize, I guess, moving down here, was that everywhere you go is rock in the ground. So I'm working from the job site during the days, but since it's so loud there, we have all the big jackhammer attachments on all the backhoes trying to chip out rock to do underground plumbing, foundation walls, all the footings that are on site, so it gets a little noisy. So coming at you guys from the Airbnb, since I have boxes all around me that you can't see, I'm kind of still in the transition period, moving from temporary housing finally to a real apartment down here. But to backtrack and give you a little bit of my backstory, I started at Iowa State as a civil engineer. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was decent at math, and my mom said that I had to be an engineer. So thought buildings were cool, and I picked civil, not really knowing that the Connie program existed. So my freshman summer, after I took, I think it's CE 160 and 170, where you learn Excel stuff and Revit, those classes helped me to land an internship my freshman summer with a structural design firm. And at that design firm, they were transitioning all of their documents from AutoCAD into Revit, and I basically just acted as a drafting technician for the entire summer. So helping annotate different documents, merging files together, drawing up little details with a lot of guidance here and there. But overall, like I said, just worked as a drafting technician, very simple tasks for the summer, but required knowledge of the software. So I decided that it was a very good experience. It really got me into reading the plans, knowing what to look for, what symbols meant what in the drawings. But I decided that maybe on the design side of things, or structural engineering in particular, was not what I wanted to do for the long term. So I came back to Iowa State in my sophomore year. I did some talking around, talking to upperclassmen, looking into other clubs that were on campus, and then ended up finding an internship with a general contractor following my sophomore year. So the summer after my sophomore year, I ended up interning with the Beck Group down in Fort Worth, Texas, on a big mixed-use project. So we were just doing the core and shell. So we had, I think, if I remember right, we had 3 parking garages and then like 4 or 5 other buildings that were going to be restaurants, retail, office space. I think that there was an art gallery planned. But basically, like I said, we were just doing core and shell. So we'd go in, they would build the structure, we'd do all the underground plumbing, basically pour a slab. Electricians would get their main stuff stubbed in, and then we'd do the exterior skin of the building, so coordinating brick colors with the architect or paint colors with the architect and different stone finishes. And then basically the next phase, or the next project that would happen on that site, would be tenants would come in, lease the individual spaces, and then they would get built out. So again, huge project. I was on the job site, so I walked to the job probably 4 hours a day or close to it. Kind of split my time, half in the office, half out. And that was great to be able to see stuff go from 2D into 3D, so plans into real life. Great experience. One thing I disliked of that job was we weren't self-performing any of the work. So while I wasn't out walking around on the job site, I was in the job site trailer doing some paper pushing, checking different documents. Basically, we'd get stuff from the subs, we'd review it, we'd stamp it, we'd send it on to the design team, we'd get it back, forward it on. So we were kind of just middleman messenger, making sure everybody did the right stuff, and it felt a little bit like babysitting. Not always bad. You still had a lot of responsibility, making sure everything went well for all the trades incorporated. But I decided that I wanted to be more of a subject matter expert in a particular area, or gain a little bit more knowledge in depth on a specific trade. So I came back to school my junior year and officially declared my major I actually declared my major junior year. So declared my major as construction engineering after that internship, and then picked up a mechanical emphasis. So all that really changed for me was parts of the degree program. So I had peers that were complaining about soils, or structure class where they had to write in all capital letters, or other classes like that. And I was taking heat transfer and HVAC design, learning how to run load calcs in the mechanical engineering department. So really just some tweaks in your upper level design classes once you get to junior, senior year, nothing major. And I thought that was good too, because then I got to learn or meet some more people in the mechanical engineering department and kind of expand my network at Iowa State, which was good too, instead of just knowing everybody in the conning department. But right about that time, my junior year, MMC Contractors, who I currently work for, acquired Stroh Corporation, who was a small structural, or excuse me, not small structural firm, small service firm in Des Moines. So Stroh had been around for years. They did maintenance contracts with customers, so they'd go switch filters throughout the year and clean coils in the summertime. If equipment reached the end of its life cycle, they would replace it, repairs here and there. They might do small new construction for existing clients, or do a rooftop replacement or chiller replacement, but no large scale new construction. So that's kind of why MMC narrowed in and ended up acquiring them. They liked the strong service base that Stroh already had in the area, and they saw an opportunity to grow a new construction side of the business. So that was my junior year that they got bought out. I connected with them and interned on the service side after my junior year. So I went in, I got to know some of the maintenance contracts that we had going on. I helped more with those special projects like the rooftop replacements, chiller replacements, items like that. And really, it was a great time for me to take a few months, get to know the team in the office, get to know kind of the incoming MMC culture, because they were making some changes, and then really just to get to know the Des Moines market and different clients or customers or building managers that we dealt with on a daily basis or throughout the summer. Kind of get to know my way around, and learn a little bit more about the company. So that was after my junior year, and then I came back, finished my senior year at Iowa State, and then I joined the team full-time following graduation. And at that point, they were starting to build the new construction department. So my first day on the job maybe didn't look like my peers' first day on their job. When I came in full-time, the only people on the new construction roster were myself. We had an operations manager and an estimator. So kind of three amigos starting out really from the bottom. They had landed a few small jobs and then one larger job, which was a renovation out at Farm Bureau's corporate campus. We took a whole building and we gutted it, basically floor by floor and a north side and south side. So we split it into 6 different phases, basically redid all of the plumbing throughout the whole building. So all the sanitary piping was replaced. All of the storm drain piping was replaced. We expanded the restrooms, all new fixtures in those, make them nice and pretty, instead of like old from the 70s. And then we basically tore out the boilers, stayed in place. Everything else went in the boiler room, and we had all new pumps, all new piping, new heat exchangers to switch from steam to hot water, and then new piping out to all the floors to serve different VAV boxes on the floor so the offices had more control ability. We did radiant fin tube heat along all the windows, so really just completely gutted the building and started from scratch, floor by floor. So that was going on that had just started when I started full time. So we kind of had that going on, that I helped support project management or did some of those tasks. So helping to price change orders, attending all the weekly meetings for the project with the general contractor and the other trades, managing submittals, RFIs if any came up, things like that. And then also at the same time, obviously to be able to manage work, you have to win work. So I did a ton of estimating right off the bat as well. And some of that stuff might get passed on, but quite a few projects that I estimated myself, I ended up getting to manage through myself. A few examples of those projects that I did all the piping takeoff, got quotes from vendors, all the fixture quantities in the project, coordinating subcontractors that we hold under us, including insulation, sheet metal, because we didn't perform our own sheet metal. We only did the piping side. And then any controls for the project. Those would kind of be our 3 subs, and then test and balance under us as well. Projects that I was involved in Des Moines included 2 St. Kilda restaurants in downtown Des Moines. We did a Wells Fargo bank, a couple little tenant office improvements out in West Des Moines, really kind of all over the place. And after my first year with them, I decided I really wanted to focus on obtaining my professional engineering license. And we didn't have a professional engineer on staff in our Des Moines office, so we had to get a little crafty. And we ended up partnering with BBS Architects and Engineers. They were the engineer of record on the Farm Bureau building that we were remodeling. And we were working on remodeling the north building while BBS was starting design on remodel for the east building on campus. So while we were working on the remodel for the north building, for about 6 months, I spent 2 mornings a week in the BBS office, running heating and cooling load calculations, sizing ductwork and laying it out, selecting diffusers, laying those out to deliver air to the space, and then very similar to the north building, resizing all the heating water pumps to serve each floor, picking out radiant fin tube heat, sizing piping to serve those, making sure that the piping in place either could accommodate the new load or if we needed to upsize piping anywhere throughout the building. So focusing on that technical mechanical knowledge that I was gaining. And then I also started taking on more of our design build projects in the Des Moines market. So we had a conference center that went up in Pella, Iowa. So that I got handed kind of as it was done with the initial budget and rough design documents. And then I got handed to me. I finished out all the pre-construction, all the design coordination to kind of get design finalized and then manage that through construction. And then I was involved from the very beginning on Spare Time Entertainment that is going out in West Des Moines. It's kind of like bowling alley, arcade, restaurant. That one we partnered with an engineering firm in town, developed all the documents for mechanical and plumbing based on the architectural design that we had. And then put together we went through multiple budgeting rounds and finally landed on something the owner was happy with and started construction. So again, still kind of getting some of that technical knowledge along the way and really just coordinating between the contracting and the design side in that pre-construction role. So obviously all this was going on and then COVID hit this spring. So the construction world was as affected as everything else. And some of our offices, like Des Moines, saw a little bit more of a slowdown. We had several healthcare projects that got put on hold. And then projects like Spare Time, where owner finances kind of put the project on hold or slowed it down a little bit. However, we had opportunities growing in some of our other MMC offices. So as I mentioned earlier, I recently relocated to Nashville, Tennessee. So I got a phone call in May and we kind of transitioned all my current projects onto some of the other project managers in Des Moines. I'm still managing one or two because they're really close to the end. But in July, I made the move down here with the plan to help kind of grow this office as well. It was an acquisition soon after the Des Moines acquisition my junior year. They found this office in Nashville. So right now, working on the Tennessee State University project, doing a lot of basically the goal is to manage that project out. So it was a hard bid that we were low bid on. We're still in that initial phase. Like I said, we're starting our underground plumbing, but a lot of it is still writing RFIs for things that are in the documents that might have been missed or weren't very conclusive in the design documents. We are actually doing a complete 3D model of the project, so coordinating with our BIM team, figuring out what they need to be able to move up from floor to floor. If things don't fit, how do we coordinate with the other trades to maybe move a piece of duct or move a fire sprinkler pipe, or the architect, get them to fur out a wall so we can fit a pipe, basically to create a chase there. So like I said, coordinating between all the trades, submitting requests for information as needed, making sure all of our submittals comply with the design intent to kind of get this project rolling. And then we're also looking at different opportunities for me here in the area to partner with general contractors that have engineers on staff or different design firms to be able to kind of continue my technical knowledge and work towards my professional engineering license. But for right now, primarily focused on kind of that project management side of things. So I really like the mechanical contracting side or the mechanical emphasis, mainly because we're a big team. That I mentioned earlier, one of the things I didn't like about the general contracting or maybe the construction management side was the babysitting feel sometimes of all the trades. We still have several subs that are under us, but because we actually get to put some of our stuff in the ground, it's fun to be a part of that self-perform portion. I have to review our schedule and figure out kind of our manpower needs throughout. You know, if we have a couple big bathroom groups coming up, how many plumbers do we need to have on site this week to get that stuff knocked out? Or if we're fitting out a big mechanical room, you know, how many fitters do we need on site to take care of that? Doing our 3-week look aheads, making sure that stuff is code compliant in the drawings or constructability reviews. If maybe there's ways that we could route piping or move fixtures that would be easier for us, save the owner dollars that the designers or the engineers maybe didn't catch right off the bat. So that's kind of my favorite part, getting to be kind of the subject matter expert in a particular area and then getting the feel of everybody being on the team and actually our company self-performing a portion of that work. So that's a little bit about me. I will leave my contact information with Dr. Shane in case anybody has questions about either different companies that I have worked for, kind of the steps that I took in my path to get to where I am today. Or if you have questions about MMC, feel free to check out our website, or again, shoot me any questions that you guys might have. I hope you're having a great year so far. Thanks.